welcome Eric McCarty to the Institute for Advanced Astonishment. I think Eric wanted to read something, some prayer.
I was going to read a prayer from A Course in Miracles. I'd like to start my own live streams off with, um, mainly to myself, but occasionally on my live stream on my YouTube channel, because it's a very important prayer that I'd love to follow to the best that I'm able. And it's from A Course in Miracles, and it is, I am here only to be truly helpful. I'm here to represent Him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do because He who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever He wishes, knowing He goes there with me. I will be healed as I let Him teach me to heal. And the reason I like to read that is I generally have no idea what I'm doing, uh, especially when I talk to someone like you. So I'd rather hand it over and allow myself to be directed and to be as helpful as possible.
Beautiful. Well, you and I connected, has to be, I'd say over 10 years ago or around there somewhere. I'm not
I think
sure,
so.
but and I think it was through one of the books or something, and we just were like brothers immediately. I could feel it. You you with the Yogi channel and the Course in Miracles, we connected immediately on that.
Your book, The Gospel of Astonishment, has been one of the most important books for me.
Uh,
It's a book filled with joy and exclamation points, and I absolutely love it. Uh, as I mentioned in the review that I did on Amazon, um, it is if you ever felt called to read or study A Course in Miracles, but for whatever reason it's just too dense, um, it's the language escapes you, and it does for many people. But the the joyfulness presented in A Course in Miracles and the freedom that you can get is found in your book in language that is so infectious and so loving and so full of wisdom that I recommend it. If you want the essence of A Course in Miracles but you just don't get it, James Plath is your man.
it's a very hard book. Did you, I think we talked about this on my birthday. Did you wind up when you picked it up like 20, 30 years ago?
About 30 years ago.
And did you throw it in the garbage a few times?
I have my original copy, but my original copy has been a paperweight. It has been a bookend. It's been a doorstop. It might have even been used as a weapon of some sort. Uh, it's
You
been around.
sailed it across the room,
I've sailed it
like,
across the room.
yeah,
I just, I got it, and that's what made it all the harder
uh,
because I knew it was absolutely right. When lesson one, nothing I see means anything, and I'm like, of course I know that. That's why I drink. It's why I'm a it's why I'm a
yes,
drinker. Um, but the big debate right now is A Course in Miracles a non-dual practice or not? And it is, but it doesn't leave you with a lot of times in um, certain non-duality practices, you can feel almost nihilistic in a way that everything's been taken away, and the course does that, but then it replaces it with the experience of God, the
yes,
experience of love, and to me that was everything.
beautifully said. Yeah, it gives, I always try to say one line. It gives, how would I say it? It doesn't give you any room. It's like a knife, like a sharpest knife, and it
Right.
gives you no wiggle room. No, it doesn't. It does. Yeah, you can't get away with anything. I think that's why we push it away, and it's very hard to grasp in the beginning. I think it depends where you meet it. You probably met it at a better time than I did. When my teacher gave it to me, it was I gave it to my mother immediately. You know.
I I was a drunk,
Oh,
uh, so maybe not
did you bring it
maybe
to
not
the
the best
bar?
time.
Did it ever make it to the bar?
It never made it to the bar.
Uh,
Um, I, I'm thinking about all the things I've left behind in bars,
yes, yes.
but the book wasn't one of them. The I came across mentions of A Course in Miracles in the late '80s, reading Wayne Dyer,
Yes.
Joel Jumbelski's "Love Is Letting Go of Fear," Um, and then in the early 90s, I finally read a book about Course in Miracles, Marianne Williamson's A Return to Love.
Beautiful.
Uh, Bought the book a couple times later, and I maybe got it in 94. I actually didn't finish the workbook, all the lessons, as well as the text until 2007.
7.
That's how stubborn
Eh, eh, Yeah, it's tough. I
it
picked
is.
it up, I think, first time in '09 and before the experience though, and that's what I'd love to talk to you about. That with that, everyone's in a dilemma if you haven't had this experience um or anything close to this experience and you're just caught in the trap. The course, like you said, is a doorstopper. It's so big and so hard, and then you have to get over the language. I was coming at it as a skeptical atheist, and I hated the he and the him, and even in the prayer there, I'm over it now. But when I hear it, or if Thomas Merton says he or him with a capital H, it just really bothered me. So my teacher said, well, cross it out and put source or absolute or whatever you feel comfortable with, but you
Right.
have to get over it. You have to get over that.
Well, I came from originally, I went to Catholic school and I left it
Yeah.
happily behind me. As soon as I was uh, graciously kicked out of my Catholic school in ninth grade, um, I was like, well, you don't want me, I don't want you. And
Yeah.
I wanted to get out of this for a very long time. Um, but so it was weird for me to pick up a book that was supposed to be uh, uh, dictated to describe Helen by the voice of Jesus. What do I want to hear from Jesus for? I've fully embraced practicing yoga uh, and other, I loved weird stuff. I spent a decade in the 80s going to Grateful Dead concerts and doing my own shamanistic.
Were
Uh,
you into the Eastern, just like me? Like, did that open the door more? Buddha was easier to swallow than Jesus and the
yes.
yogis and Shankara and all that the Hindus.
Yep. As well as, and you know what? I even appreciated the Christian mystical traditions,
Yes,
um, especially Meister Eckhart, who
me too.
sometime in the 80s I read, if the only prayer one ever says is thank you, that
Yes,
would be enough. And I don't know why I decided to practice every morning saying thank you.
beautiful.
And the beginning, I had to think of, well, sometimes waking up with a hangover, I couldn't think of a single thing to be thankful for. Uh, and, but I don't know why, I just kept persisting in my practice. Every morning I would say 3 times, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then I started to look for things to be thankful for. And then I started to
Beautiful.
find things. And as this progressed, and I still do it every morning, I wake up grateful. I don't have to search for a single thing. I take a breath and I realize what a gift that I've
Yes.
been given. I didn't have to ask for it. I Everything has been arranged so beautifully and perfectly for my existence, and I didn't have to ask for a single thing. How can I not be grateful?
Now, would you call for someone listening that doesn't experience, they get up and they're sad and they throw the clock across the room, the alarm clock. Would you say that what happened to you here is you hit like there are levels or frequencies to consciousness to awareness, and you hit a level up, we'll call it up or wherever or in this way, that it was softer, and at first you didn't, like you said, you didn't know what you were doing. You were just saying thank you, and you had nothing to be thankful for. You were maybe had a bad headache and throwing up and life wasn't good, but you still did it, and doing it did something almost like climbing a ladder
Yes,
inside.
for sure. And gratefulness changes everything. Uh,
Yes.
I don't know how you feel about practices. Um,
I
you
wanted
know,
to talk about it's one of my questions for you.
there's there's always great debate in non-duality communities. Do you have to practice? I remember uh, um, some of your your best interviews, like Robert Saltzman, um, and and I love Robert Saltzman. He's been a huge help for me. And when my father passed away, uh, he was just so. He actually posted what I wrote on his website. Uh,
Oh,
he's been a big influence.
big
But he's
heart, big
also,
heart.
you know, someone who doesn't believe that practice is necessary.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that if you have the right teacher, you can have that non-dual awakening without having to practice. Although almost every great non-dual teacher has meditated at one point,
Yes.
and then they see that maybe they didn't have to meditate. Um, but I love the practice. I don't care if it leads to awakening. I don't care if I need to do it. I'm not trying to achieve anything. Wasn't it Dogen who said when he was asked, did meditation lead to enlightenment? And he said no, which disappointed all of the people who were meditating with him for the last 20 years. And he said meditation is enlightenment.
Yes. Yes.
So the
I
practice
love
is
that.
the thing.
Yeah. Like to me, Michael Jordan's always been like a measuring stick of excellence at what he did on the court. And he was a devastating practice player. They
Right.
feared him in practice, his own team. And I think he loved that. And if you can't do it in practice, you can't do it in the game. And it's the same with this. If you can't do it in the silence of your room, how are you going to do it in the city? You know, when the world gets tough and squeezes you.
Right. And that's a important thing is I've never chased, maybe briefly, early 2000s or so. I never really chased awakening or enlightenment. Um, One, I wanted to be sober. Two, I wanted to be kind.
Yes.
I wanted to be helpful. I wanted to be forgiving. Uh, and then I found that forgiveness, much like meditation, it's satori. It's instant awakening.
Yes.
When you forgive, as the Course in Miracles presents, it's not forgiveness through. There's uh, forgiveness to destroy is one way that they describe it. When you say, I forgive you because, or I forgive you in spite of, or I forgive you um, if I think you deserve it, that's forgiveness to destroy. Because what I'm doing is I'm destroying the belief, or maybe a better way of saying it is that I'm giving into the belief that you are just the body, that you are an ego, that there is nothing uh, within you that is worthy of being forgiveness until I decide there is. And then the Course says what we want to do is forgiveness for salvation, in which I see the face of Christ within you. And in doing so, I recognize my own Christ essence. It's the entirety of Namaste. The divinity
Yes.
within me recognizes and salutes the divinity within you. So I forgive so I can be forgiven. I forgive so I can see my own uh, true self within you. And that was more important, I think, than any type of, ultimate sense of feeling like I was awakened.
I love that. So you went in through, like the Dalai Lama would say, through kindness,
Yes.
through not holding onto the hot coal and the grudges you just wanted to be kind and you wanted to be useful and
And bottom
forgiving.
line, I wanted to feel better. I wanted to
Yeah,
feel better about myself. I wanted to feel better about other people because it's a tough world.
yeah,
Um, and I I was a poser. I believed that I was a tough guy, uh, and I went through life thinking myself as a tough guy. Um, but it was, again, I was a poser. It was an act. Inside, um, I was breaking. The best thing that ever happened to me was to discover that, Leonard Cohen, the great Canadian
yeah,
songwriter, everything has a crack in it because that's how the light gets in.
beautiful.
Uh, the best thing that ever happened was to crack open and let that light start shining out and to receive light from other people.
And you said techniques to get to that, to make the crack your shell. Um, I think my answer would be definitely techniques, anything that works, and until you don't need it anymore. You
Right.
know, so techniques until I don't like when someone says no technique. I get what we get what they're saying. They're saying you're already home, you're ready, but it doesn't work. It does it doesn't maybe it gets through to the one who's ready to pop and hear that, but it's one like Jesus said, one or two in 10,000 maybe that could pop from that, and
Sure.
they go to Tony Parsons or Robert Saltzman and get that message. They're ready to pop, but the rest need to burn out that energy, through I know you know this. Maybe you could explain it. The thorn idea, using a thorn to remove a
Oh,
thorn.
yeah. Ramana Maharshi.
Yeah.
Um, when you have a thorn in your palm and you use another thorn to remove it, but you
Yes.
don't want to hold on to both thorns. Now you can throw them away. And I've been talking to some great Course in Miracles teacher students. For I had some of the original students come on last week. They've been doing it for 48 years, one for 50
Wow.
years since it was first came out, and both of them, in essence, at some point, received guidance from the Holy Spirit to um, put the book away
Yes.
and to live A Course in Miracles. Just go through life forgiving, forgiving, forgiving. And a lot of people might ask, so, what am I forgiving? And anytime you believe that you are an ego, anytime you're giving an egoic response, anytime that you are find yourself convinced that you are solely a body or that someone else is solely a body, uh, you silently to yourself uh, forgive. You hand it over. You realize that um, I am seeing uh, the perception that has been caused by my projection.
That's great.
And, a miracle in A Course in Miracles is simply saying, uh, there's another way of seeing.
Yes. Correct the it's a flip in the perception.
Right. Which is why the Course says, do not seek to change the world, but seek to change how you see the world.
Yes, yes.
And as long as we are experiencing a world of um, suffering, as long as we're experiencing a world of any kind of discord, I mean, and if you look around, it's hard to deny. Uh, we got a bit of a mess on our hands. My job is just to forgive. Now,
Yes.
on the level of the body, maybe uh, I want to pick up a sign and protest, or maybe I want to work at a homeless shelter, or
Right.
maybe I want to, do something. But on the level of the mind, which ultimately everything in the Course points to the mind, and it's that one mind, that non-dual mind, the mind of God, or just mind, whatever the Tao.
Yes.
On that level, we just forgive and we forgive and we forgive. So the Course often mentions uh, level confusion, that
Yeah.
we think that we need to go out and verbally say to someone, I forgive you. Or we also think that on the level of the mind, we don't need to do anything. But, the Course is very clear. Uh, if you have a headache and you believe that you are a body, take an aspirin. Uh, you know, don't suffer and bypass. The Course, if there's one thing, as you said, uncompromising, it does not bypass at all. That
Yes.
everything goes back to the level of the mind, but realize your body's occurring in the mind, your headache is occurring in the mind, the aspirin is occurring in the mind. But because you still believe, and as long as you have an ego, which we all do and we all will, um, as long as you are in a body and think you're in a body, take an aspirin when you need it. Protest
Yes.
when you feel there's something to protest. Volunteer if you're called to volunteer.
You reminded me of David Hopmeister in, I think it was in Kirsten Buxton. Have you had her on yet?
I haven't.
Do you know her, the one that he married?
Oh, I do.
Yeah, yeah. So she said they were driving, and it was so hot in the car, and he wouldn't get the AC fixed. He said if we show up at an AC store, then, but she was so hot, and he said, you're having hot thoughts. And then the check engine light went on, and she said, David, she's right next to him. David, we have to get the car fixed. And he said, the check engine light went off in your mind. And that's it's great. It's just the two of them. I married a mystic, and to show that wouldn't work for people screaming in the streets, like you're saying.
Right.
You don't bypass that, but one-on-one, you can maybe get away with that, hot thought.
I used to drive my ex-wife now crazy when she would be like, you're going to take out the garbage, and I need do nothing, and yet everything gets done.
Right.
She's like, just take out the garbage.
Just take
out the garbage. Yeah. She's like, you're not a mystic. You just don't want to take out the garbage. You're like, all right, you got me. You got me on that.
Yes, yes. Yeah, a lot of bypassing going on, especially in online groups and things. I mean, non-dual people tear each other apart more than anybody.
They do. Yeah. I mean, the spirituality, and those who step on any kind of spiritual path, almost all of them at one time are going to experience some type of bypassing, if not continuously, because we so want to get better, and we so want things to be other, and to believe in something bigger than ourselves and magical, that we don't have time for our petty problems. We're tired of them. We're ready for something better, and we're so ready that we'll shove that stuff aside, which, as we know from shadow work, it doesn't go anywhere.
No. It seems to. I used to say, well, now I don't have to pay any more bills because I won't think of the mailbox anymore. I'm done with the mailbox.
Right.
But at some point you will, and you'll go to the mailbox and the bills will be piled up, so.
Yeah. It's a shame that the IRS isn't on a spiritual path, because maybe they would bypass me completely.
Yes. Well, we'll see what happens with all of that over the next few years. Everything might just go up. I'm being optimistic. Well, how do you feel? Optimistic?
No.
All right, we'll balance each other.
I wish I could feel optimistic. Sometimes I think things might need to get a bit darker before more people. One thing I do notice, more people seem to be waking up.
Yes,
which is good. But I don't know where that critical mass is going to be. It used to be the 100th monkey, but nowadays I'm thinking it might be the millionth monkey before we. I think the monkeys are exhausted. They're like, don't count on me, man.
I always think of 30% or so. If it hits 30, and it seems to be heading that way, even some of the great names of famous people are taking the medicine or going on yoga retreats and getting like a Jim Carrey or a Mike Tyson.
Right.
I saw a guy, Frank, I can't remember his last name, but he was on Jimmy Kimmel talking about ayahuasca. And he just said it so beautifully. He was so lit up, and it was his birthday, and he looked 10 years younger. And he's like, well, this is why. And he talked about ayahuasca, and the way he described it, he said it gives you 15 minutes to sit with God. So it wasn't quite non-dual, but it was perfect for the audience. Sit with God for 15 minutes.
What worries me, though, is having those great experiences and then not following it up with the work.
Yes, yes.
That's when you need to dig in, and you need to make it stick. You need to embody it.
I love those words, make it stick.
Because, and we've seen, in non-dual circles, of walking around with, maybe it's not an apt description of our head in the clouds.
Yes.
But there seems to be that lack of embodiment.
I agree.
Jesus says in the Bible to be in the world, but not of the world. And I think a lot of people have had the awakening of not being in the world, but they haven't stepped back in with their feet on the ground and say, the work is in being kind. The work is into uh, extending love. It's what we're supposed to do.
If you and I are on a mountaintop and we both get it, we go from skeptics and alcoholics to, wow, we got it. We're both on the mountaintop, maybe separate mountains, like across. And you text me, I got it, and I say, I got it. At what I used to debate this with my friend RJ all the time. There's the arhat and the bodhisattva. So the arhat seems to get it and doesn't need to return to the world, maybe, and the bodhisattva trudges back down the mountain or skips down or slides down or runs down to the people to confront it doesn't bypass the world. Which one's higher? And it seems like, I mean, I could see both, because the one doesn't need to be bothered because the world is going to be okay. All is well. I see that. I get that. But the other one understands that and still enters the fray. And that
Right.
seems like a more powerful understanding. Or maybe is it that they're playing a little and dropping down from that head in the clouds in order to have the Leela and the divine play and enter and make it a goal to heal the world.
Well, the Course says that we all awaken together or we don't at all. And in
Yes.
fact, we are already awakened. So, our goal is through forgiveness, where we're being that 100th monkey, where, we're waking up the collective. But I'd like to think that the one who might have transcended, the one who's at that mountaintop and realized that I don't have to go back down, is actually now doing the work on a different plane, on a different level, a different understanding. And, I don't know, I have no experience in that realm, but I like to think that we are guided by uh, angels, we are guided by higher beings, and by higher, I don't mean, um, you know, other than us,
Right.
but just those who, through practice or through grace, have reached that point where they don't need to engage with the physical. And yet, through that infinite love, they are beaming it down. They are helping us. They are, and the Course calls them our mighty companions.
Yes. You ever see a movie called Wings of Desire?
I haven't.
It's by Wim Wenders. You might know that director. And he made it, I think, in 1987, but it looks like from the 40s, maybe. And it's in Berlin, and it's in German, but there's subtitles. And it's angels that the angels only hang out, not in the church, they hang out in the library in Germany, and they affect people. You don't see them. It's like another level of consciousness. And when
Right.
someone's suicidal or something, they just lean on there and give them, readjust their or realign their thoughts or bring them to the atonement. But one of the angels says, I want to forget. I'm done with this pure consciousness stuff. I want to feel the dirt under my feet and taste a cup of coffee and get cold and bleed and be human again. And the other one says, don't do that. And the angel drops in to the world, and what happens, I won't say. But it's very beautiful about the two, like the arhat and bodhisattva.
There's isn't there a Hindu proverb um of a master sending his protege out to get water, um
Oh, I love that
and
one.
yeah, and he goes out and soon forgets. And the master said, whatever you do, don't forget, don't forget, don't forget. And of course, he takes 3 steps out of the circle and he forgets everything. And he marries and he has a life, and he has kids. He grows old, and all of a sudden he remembers just supposed to get water,
Yeah, yeah.
and realize it was all a dream. It's so easy to get pulled into Maya,
Yes.
into the illusion.
I tell this often, I used to, maybe 10 years ago, maybe a little longer, I was a librarian, so I'd pull the car up into the library early, and I'd say, when I get out of this car, walking in that library and I'm doing the work. I'm going to light everybody up in a certain way. I'm not everyone. And as soon as I was so in it, as soon as I opened the door and my foot hit the pavement, I forgot the whole thing. I was
Right.
still kind and loving and fun, but I forgot the idea of I'm going in here to help people and heal people, and totally forgot. As soon as someone waved, it pulls you right back.
We're in a world of distractions. Um,
Yes.
but that's the practice.
Yes.
And it's all self-practice. I'm supposed to remember. Uh, and when I forget, I'm supposed to remember that I forgot.
Yes.
The great line in the course is that, into that, uh, the one mind of God, um, of which we were, restful, loving, there, present. There crept that tiny mad idea in which we remembered not to laugh. Um, and being powerful creators, uh, that split everything. It split our mind into, the ego, which has projected this world, and the Holy Spirit, which is the voice for God. It's not the voice of God, the voice for God. Um, and whenever we turn and listen to the guidance of the Holy Spirit, or Krishna mind, Christ consciousness, whatever term we like to use. Wonderful teacher, Corinne Zupko, who's going to be up Friday. She calls the Holy Spirit her inner therapist.
Good.
And it
I like that.
saves her, therapy fees. We have our own therapist that is always urging us, as David Hoffmeister said, it's all occurring in the mind. So
Yes.
we have that therapist within the mind as well for, instant counseling. But when we forget, be kind to ourselves. When it all comes back to kindness. What a great opportunity that forgetting presents. A great
Yes.
opportunity when I have been unkind to remember. And, as the Course said, we remember not to laugh. Now's our opportunity to remember to laugh.
Love that.
And if you can't laugh about yourself, about the follies of being human, uh, you know, that's the great practice, I think.
Yes. Laughter is holy.
It is.
I remember at some point I realized it was like finding different ways to get home. When you forget one way, it's like, remember when you were little and they sew your address on in your sleeve or something, or give you, and you remember, and now you get cut off. So you have to find another way home. And it's scary. It's what the fairy tales are about, being lost in the woods, but then leaving breadcrumbs, like a Hansel and Gretel. Do you like technique? Do you recommend breadcrumbs, little refrigerator magnets that you remember, something you wrote on your hand or
Um, my favorite, and the one that I think I had the greatest non-medicine, non-meditative
ah,
uh, experience,
yes,
Douglas Harding's Headless experiments.
beautiful.
Uh, point, just point.
Yeah,
And as Douglas and Richard Lang would point out, uh, don't look at the finger and say, all I see is a finger. Look in the direction in which you're pointing, uh, and be playful, be innocent, but be curious. What do you see? And if I look, I might see a tip of a nose. I might see the outlines of my glasses, a little bit of a
right.
beard. But where is that emerging from? And keep looking, and you realize I don't see anything. I see no thing. And yet, in this no thing, uh, there is the appearance of everything. So you're literally experiencing that pure awareness of which we are in one glance in the right direction. And then the beautiful thing that the Headless Way offers is, okay, now just go out and live your life. And when you forget, point again. Live your life
Yes,
from that awareness. It's the great Heart Sutra that uh, I'm seeing that within, they love to use instead of emptiness, capacity, that I am the capacity to hold everything that is appearing. Um, the capacity isn't separate from what it's holding. Go out and live your life with that awareness, because that's who you are.
Yes. And now say you have that down and it brings you back home, and a month later something happens so bad that you can't get to that file cabinet where you remember the Headless Way is a way to get back. What else would you recommend? Like obviously the Course in Miracles, certain books that point you right back.
Um, Going beyond techniques and tools. Uh, I'm going to go back to the two staples: forgiveness and kindness. That because life is always going to give you something to forgive.
Yes.
There's always going to be, we're always going to find ourselves with a grievance, with a resentment, with a judgment. Those are the tools. Those aren't things to be avoided. Those aren't things that we want to bypass. Those are the most helpful things in the world. That I've been practicing A Course in Miracles for 30 years. Uh, why the heck am I holding a grievance for this person who stole my parking spot or bumped into me? Or
Right.
why am I resentment, against a YouTuber with more hair than me? Why am I resentful? James has such a better beard than I do. um, what great tools that they're always at our disposal. And I might forget and forget until I realize, man, I'm pretty miserable.
Yes.
I'm holding on to everything that occurs. We're this great alchemical lab. Everything that's occurring in the world is, as you pointed out with David Hoffmeister, is occurring in here. So if I'm annoyed by anything, what a
That's
great
right.
opportunity to examine, why am I annoyed? What I love about Ken Wapnick, one of the probably the greatest course teacher, um, it's okay to be annoyed. It's okay to be mad. It's okay to have resentment. Just know that you're choosing the ego as your teacher.
Yes.
And when you're ready, when you want to, you can offer it up to the Holy Spirit. You can say, you know what? I don't know how to let this go, but there is the pure aspect of my mind, the right mind, that knows how to do everything. And I will just ask for help.
I love that. So you're saying for someone who's suffering right now, get in the gym of the mind and start practicing like Michael Jordan, like
Right.
start really practicing forgiveness, so much so that when you forget and you see there'll be an alarm clock in this dream of separation in the world, and the alarm clock will be someone who will insult you or take your parking spot or do something to you online at the bank, and instead of snapping back, you'll laugh maybe at some point when you get good at it, like Michael Jordan on an opponent just looking you in the eye and saying it's time to go to flight school and just flying right over
Right.
you. You'll say, "Oh, thank you for reminding me of my purpose here to forgive," and it'll be that namaste moment of seeing the Christ.
And there's no time limit on it. I've had resentments for days, for weeks. I've had some that I didn't even know that I've carried for years. And it wasn't so much that I bypassed. I felt like I did the work, but these are deep, deep resentments, and it comes up unexpectedly. Uh, and when it does, what a great reminder. We just embrace life and all that it offers. Life is your teacher. Life is your practice. Um, have you talked with Wayne Luckerman?
No, not yet.
When I haven't talked with him either. I've read his story once. He was a drunk and an addict, and it was really bad until one day he had taken so many drugs and drank so much he became completely sober, which annoyed him because he had no plans on being completely sober. Um, and he figured, well, if I'm sober, if I'm never going to be able to get drunk again, I may as well take everything that I have, which he did. And then he walked down to a bookstore and he bought, I don't remember the books. I think he bought The Impersonal Way
Ah,
and a copy of Tao Te Ching.
impersonal self.
Yes.
That
Yeah.
was Elvis's favorite book.
You and I talked about that. I think
Yeah, yeah.
um, he would buy like hundreds of copies and hand them out to people.
Beautiful.
Um, and eventually he met his guru, uh, Ramesh Belksar, who
Yes.
was a disciple of Nisargadatta Maharaj. Um, and he begged his guru for a spiritual practice for sadhana. And uh, Ramesh said, "Your drinking, your addiction, that was your sadhana. That was your path,
Ah,
and you're done with it. You don't need it anymore." Which is, that's grace when that happens.
yes.
But for the rest of us who might not have realized that grace yet, um, the suffering, the misery, the resentments, that's our practice. That's our sadhana. Um, I think about that with my own drinking, which was hardcore every day for over a decade, and I drank with a mission. I told people I was a social drinker, but I found every occasion in the world to be sociable. It's say it's Wednesday, James. We got to be social. We got to be social together. Um, let's hit the bar at 6 o'clock,
Early?
and
Yeah.
well, you know, I I would still show up. I'd work out with a
I,
hangover. I would still meditate with a hangover. I had the stuff that I did. I didn't realize that during that decade, starting to meditating, finding the course, practicing yoga, I was planting seeds for my sobriety. For
okay.
me, I was interested in this stuff, so I did it. But I was drinking. I was unhappy. I didn't like myself. I was drinking my way out of relationships, um, and endangering other people and myself, very much so. And yet I couldn't seem to stop. And I didn't realize that this was all part of my practice. I was so grateful that no one was harmed uh,
Yes, yes.
during that decade. I was pulled over drinking and driving uh, less than a mile from my home by an off duty police officer, state trooper, who saw me swerve just a little bit. And he thought to himself, maybe it's nothing. But being a police officer, he couldn't let it pass.
Yeah.
So he pulled me over, and I saw the lights behind me. And very clearly, I saw I had a choice. I saw the ego, I saw the Holy Spirit, and I knew I could choose one. And if I chose the ego, it was going to be a short path. Eventually, I was going to harm someone, or I was going to harm myself. Um, and if I chose the Holy Spirit, all I had was mystery, but it had to be better than the alternative. And when the police officer asked me to roll my window down, and he said, "Sir, have you been drinking?" And I said, "Yes, but I'm never going
Wow.
to drink again." And I never did. That was my last drink.
That's great.
People ask me, was it hard to quit drinking? And my answer is no, because I never tried. A decade of drinking, I never struggled with it because all I wanted to do was drink. And then a moment of grace, undeserved, as grace always is, um, drinking left my life in an instant. So I realized that decade of misery, part of my practice.
And that choice is all day, 50,000 times a day for people. There's that choice that it's always there, presented every breath.
It is.
But
And it's
sometimes we
not,
need, like you said, a little, like Hafiz said, love has to hold us upside down and shake the nonsense out. Sometimes you have to get a little, and for you, it was maybe a 3-story window getting hung
it
out
was.
rather than a Empire State Building or something.
And for a decade. And I was given
Yeah.
warning. I was given ample shakes.
Yes.
Hafiz would visit me and give me ample shakes. And are you ready? And my answer
Oh,
was nope, not yet. I'm a stubborn guy, as you can
yeah.
tell by my 2,000 live YouTube appearances in a row. Um, when I'm set on showing up, I'll keep showing up, for better or for worse. And it was definitely for worse. But I didn't struggle with sobriety. when it's given as a gift, you're sober. I
Yeah.
used to drink, and now I don't. And I am convinced that it can be that way for all of us. But a lot of times we quit because we're forced to quit, or we're given that ultimatum: uh, keep drinking, you're going to die. Like, Bukowski, uh,
Yeah.
when he left the hospital, the attendant said, "If you have another drink, you're going to die." So he would drink milk. He'd go home and just drink milk, and then he started adding a little bit of wine into the milk. And then eventually he was able to do without the milk entirely. Um, so a worse analogy for a vegan, the boiled frog in water. We can condition ourselves for misery for our whole lives. We can do that, or we can step into grace at any moment, and we can simply say to the Holy Spirit, "I don't know what anything is for,
Yes.
anything, but I'm willing to know. I'm willing to be guided. I'm willing not. I have that little willingness to not know, and have you show me the way."
Surrender.
Surrender.
Now,
Scary.
you know that quote, they say Suzuki, they say Krishnamurti, that meditation, awakening is, or enlightenment is an accident, but meditation makes you accident prone.
Right.
Would you say there's something that makes you surrender prone? I would say medicine is one thing, but what would you say?
Medicine breaks you open.
Yeah.
Medicine gives you that crack in the cosmic egg, and a little bit of lichens feel. I mentioned uh, through the '80s going to Dead shows, and even though the little regret that I have about those times is that I took the medicine without a guide and without any idea of what a great opportunity I was given. But even taking it haphazardly, there was these moments of transcendence where I told this story the other day. I saw the musical notes as color, and I was dancing with them, and we were merging, and it was just this all one
Beautiful.
swirling light of color and vibes. Um, you're given these moments. Everyone's had moments of transcendence, but a lot of times we just dismiss them.
Yes.
It's, for me, well, it was the medicine, and not God reaching through, or that, sometimes someone will see a sunset, or stop at the sign of the ocean, whatever,
Yes.
something grabs them, and then we shrug it off. And I think the spiritual path says, don't shrug.
Yes. And don't don't have a preconceived notion of what God looks like or
Exactly.
how it all works. Like that old joke with the guy on the roof and the water's coming up, flooding,
Oh,
and prays to God,
right.
help me, and a fire truck comes, or a kid on a boat, or all, and he just shrugs them all off, waiting for God, the sky to open, and the water kills him, and he says, "Why didn't you save me?" And God says, "I sent you a boat, a kid with a lasso."
Right.
So we go to that Meister Eckhart prayer. I pray, like his favorite prayer. I pray to God to rid me of God, so I may know God. Can you explain that one?
Um, you know what? No. And
Yes, you
that's a good,
can. Yes, you can.
well, I think it's a good thing not to explain it. I think we know it. Um, or
Yeah.
I hope that I know it, uh, because I've been filled with concept after concept
Yes.
of God, and they're easy to hold on to.
Yes.
And even now, doing a live stream, and someone will show up in a live stream and uh, give me their version of God, and I will catch myself getting ready to offer my version. No, 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 my friend, this is how you
Oh,
want it.
right.
And fortunately, nowadays I'm able to catch myself.
Yes.
and laugh off of that laughing response, because we do need to rid ourselves of those concepts in order to have the experience. I've had experiences of concepts before, and I I could base an entire. I think we've all been in philosophies and movements and religions that are based upon those concepts,
Yes.
and we believe them deeply. And I think even a non-dual experience, we embrace the concept of non-duality, and we put that smile on our face,
Yeah.
and we walk through life as if we are untouched by circumstances. Um, but I wonder, is it just another concept? I might be. I don't want to step on any toes out there in the non. I don't want to be attacked by the non-dual community.
Clip
Um,
it. Clip this clip. Let's get it out there. It's going viral.
or you could edit, or you can edit the clip.
I love that though. You're saying don't, yeah, even what we're trying to talk about, which is non-conceptual consciousness or non-concept, that quickly hardens and becomes a concept of
Right.
non-conceptual. And then it's my version of it versus your version of it. So,
Even
so you're recommending a positionless position, sort of like, in a way.
Yeah, I'll go back to Kenneth Wapnick. It's okay to have a concept. Just know that it's a concept. It's all, as speaking of uncompromising, Kenneth was very uncompromising. The
Yeah.
last few months, I've been having imaginary conversations with Kenneth Wapnick at
Uh,
the most inopportune times. And he'll remind me, you're holding on to a concept, or you're dealing with effects, and you can keep dealing with effects all you want, but it's not going to make any difference
right.
until you address the cause.
Yes.
Um, and the cause, we only have two causes. The cause is either the ego or it's the Holy Spirit. If you want better effects, which is still a dream, you know, even the happier dream is still a dream.
Right.
Um, but I'd rather be in a happier dream than a miserable dream, given a choice.
Right.
Um, not that we're always given that choice, but you got to turn within and you got to choose the right teacher. And it's okay to choose the wrong teacher. Just know that you are.
Yeah. I like that. Would you say, for someone uninitiated on the course, if we talk about Plato's allegory of the cave, where right, the prisoners are chained by the neck, so they can't turn their heads, and they're looking at the wall, and on the wall there's this whole shadow play that the Greeks are doing behind the prisoners with this fire, and they're putting like a shadow puppet show on the wall, and the prisoners that are locked into this matrix, they believe that that's reality because they can't see the mechanism. And what you're saying is there's only so much playing, rearranging the shadows and helping that shadow. But the better thing is to break the chain and turn within and see the one mind, the source of it all. And
Right.
that changes that change, that's the game changer, not helping the shadow.
Yes. And if you're lucky, something will come along, the course, or you'll have a great non-duality teacher, or you'll have someone or something that guides you through uh, medicine to get you to
Yes.
that realization and on the other side of that realization. But if it doesn't happen, at least know that you're chained. At least know that the ego has you by the scruff of the neck, um, and you're going to see you're going to see that wall. You're going to see the illusion dancing before you. Um, there's a lot of suffering is eased, I think, when at least um, this is an illusion. That this is that it's a dream, and that eventually, with patience, with practice, with kindness, with forgiveness, with meditation, with plant medicine, maybe the right book, uh,
Yes.
maybe you stumble on the right teacher, maybe you will go to Amazon and see a great review for one of the most remarkable books ever, and you'll buy the Gospel of Astonishment. I honestly believe your book could wake someone up if you read it, even if you've never read anything before. But if I found your book when I was 14, you would have saved me 30 plus years.
Yeah.
And I honestly believe that. Now, I was very fortunate. I did find some great books. I read, Carlos Castaneda at a young age.
Me too.
Um,
He's great
and
at a young age.
yeah,
He
he
was
is.
so great.
And you know what? There was these moments in my life that caused me to believe to become re-enchanted with
Oh,
the
that's
world.
beautiful. I like that.
In Carlos Castaneda's books, when I easily could have stepped into those uh, harsh teenage years,
Yes.
and getting caught up in chasing after status. Carlos Castaneda reminded me that we really live in a enchanted world.
Love that.
Another one was watching Jimmy Stewart's Harvey.
I still haven't watched that.
It's a wonderful movie.
I
Uh,
can't wait. The rabbit, right? It's a like
the
an invisible
six
rabbit.
foot tall imaginary rabbit, a puka, which is a shapeshifter.
Wow.
Uh, it's just I caught it. I might have been 16 years old, uh, watching TV, 3 o'clock in the morning,
Yes.
probably, you know, engaging my own plant medicine. Um,
Yes.
and with the TV with the antenna and the tinfoil on the antenna, and the movie was on. I've always liked Jimmy Stewart. I always liked old movies, and it caught my attention. And I was just literally in tears that the possibility that there could be a 6 foot tall invisible rabbit waiting for me somewhere out there,
Yes.
or an angel, or another mighty companion, or an ascended master. There was some non-ordinary non-ordinary reality uh, that was waiting for me, and I think that was having that in place at a young age uh, kept me going when it would have been easy to stop.
Did you did you read Richard Bach?
I
That did
love
it for
Richard
me
Bach.
too. Yeah, he gave me that enchantment like you. And the movie E.T. did it, and Close Encounters did it.
Right.
Spielberg had it, like, he would, with Poltergeist, or, even though I was a skeptic, I was drawn to that. Even Miracle on 34th Street, or Jimmy Stewart again in It's a Wonderful Life, any of those.
Right.
That's what art can hold you and,
Do you
give you
think
a
your
little bit of that magic.
Do you think your skepticism was a mask, just covering that wonder, that the astonishment?
Yeah, but I thought it was so arrogant, and so I thought I was standing with Einstein and Darwin, and even though Einstein had the enchantment, and so did Darwin, that I saw them as strict, no magic atheists. I was a magician who didn't believe in magic at all. It's
Right.
very funny.
Um, but it's
Someone wrote
interesting
on my
because
paper, in college, you're you're a you're a you're a mystic in skeptic's clothing, and I hated that. And it was so true. It's what you're saying.
right, it's almost like you didn't have an awakening so much as you had a revelation that layer after layer was being shed, uh,
Yes.
and finally you were like, oh, I get it.
Yeah, I was knocking on like I knew enough science. I would go to the edge of science and artificial intelligence and art and the theater of the absurd and Tom Stoppard and Samuel Beckett, and all of that sustained me. Cosmic dust, Buddha, but I didn't understand Buddha totally. I thought it was just atheistic.
Right. Um, it's it's just funny how these revelations, and we don't even realize, signposts along
Yeah,
the way. Like you reading, Richard Bach, um, Carlos
loved it.
Castaneda, and they were all little seeds that were planted. Um,
Yes.
even other skeptics that you met, uh, kept that alive. With you, with Randy, um, and Douglas Hofstadter.
Yes.
Have
Who's
you ever?
as you know, Doug told me Randy is an atheist, and he would take the first four letters of atheist, and you could scramble them into hate, like atheist, and he said I'm an atheist, like Thee. I don't care if people believe or don't believe. So Randy was like thumping his Darwin, and Doug was just atheist like that. So I needed both of those. Doug softened Randy up, almost like a
Have,
mother.
have you had any more dream conversations with Doug?
No, no, he was just on the podcast. I don't know if you saw.
I did.
Oh, you saw him? Yeah. No, we we reached a point where I don't know if do you know that the two monk fighting story?
Oh,
That
carrying the woman.
no, no, with the brick. You know the brick one?
I don't know that one.
It's two monks. It's from the Thomas Merton's Wisdom of the Desert Fathers, a very little good breadcrumb book. And it's two monks, and they decide, it's like me and you, saying, let's get in a fight. I don't even know what a fight is. We never fought before. And the other one says, all right, let's fight. How do we do it? And the one monk says, I'll take this brick and I'll say, this is my brick, not your brick. And then you tell me, no, it's your brick, and then we'll fight. And I hold up the brick and I say, this is my brick. And you say, so have it, brother. And they both laugh. And so Doug, when I told him that story, he said, yeah, let's be those, so we don't bump heads anymore.
I love how you have used some of the words from his book in your own argument to him. What was the line? A self-dreaming.
Wait, which
agree,
one?
that we are a self-dreaming.
Doug, he said we are a hallucination, hallucinated by a hallucination.
Right.
And that's so perfect.
That's perfect non-duality wisdom.
Yes, yes. It's very funny. And then I realized I would say he's a non-dualist, but he doesn't know it. But then that's not right. It's more, and it was so basic. I wrote Doug Hofstadter, this Pulitzer Prize winner, and I said this thing that to me was an epiphany, and he just laughed. It was so basic to him. I said, you just have a different point of view. Like right. You're looking but you're holding that point of view, and you're saying, I'm finite, and I'm looking at it from here. I refuse to budge. And he's getting high enough from it because he's right on that edge of hallucination. Hallucinating, it's a hallucination. He's right there. He's getting enough high, but he's also suffering. And so that book was meant to alleviate my friend's suffering, in a loving way. But sometimes, like my friend RJ said, I threw a little elbow at him like a hockey,
Right.
I didn't mean it, but you're trying to say, Doug, just take the medicine. And he's saying, no, I'll never to do drugs. And he keeps calling it drugs.
What was his response to those dream conversations in your book?
The first book, The Skeptic's Apprentice, I don't know if you read that, but that's Randy, and Doug loved it because he's in it, but I don't fight him. So he loved it, and he loved the dream dialogues. Then the second book, I sent him on his birthday. It was in his mailbox in February, and he had to come down in his robe, and it was freezing in Indiana. And the book was in his mailbox, and I said, you better go get it. You're in it. It's all about you. And so he couldn't sleep. On his birthday, he had to go out in the snow, get the book, open it, and read it through the night till 6 a.m. because he had to see what did I say about him now. And he said his review is basically, I love you. And this was beautiful because he was my idol, like Michael Jordan. He was my measuring stick. And he said, I love you, but I can't go all the way. That love is the basis of everything. I can get to empathy, but not, he sees the connection with empathy, but not that love is the foundation of the world.
Right.
But saying I love you, that was enough. And I'm realizing we don't need to even argue like those monks. Just seeing him hold his point of view is beautiful. Like it's the namaste, and it's just a big fun game between
And
us.
he seems like such a kind-hearted man.
Very
Um,
cool.
and his love for music is
Yes.
palatable. Uh, Maybe that's enough,
Yeah, he's plenty.
right?
I just thought I could pull him over to this, but I did what I did, and he liked it enough. So it was a lot of fun.
And it's again, not to keep coming back to it. It's a beautiful, wonderful book, and I recommend it every chance I get. I probably I probably read it maybe once a year for the sheer enjoyment of the words, for the poetry
Thank
that
you.
you offer, and that it makes me smile continuously.
That's all I wanted it, and to make it for a seeker, not you, but for a seeker to actually just get inside them somehow, and definitely to unlock the course in miracles. Be like a primer. To if you're going to read that, read this first, and then try to tackle it.
That was a that was a big thing for me, um, and I don't remember exactly where in the book, and it dawned on me that I am reading uh, in beautifully descriptive, understandable language, A Course in Miracles, the principles of A Course in Miracles, again told in a way that in a wonderful way where it's being offered, you're not being told,
Right.
which is
Yeah,
huge,
I give more leeway, and it's
right?
more joyous. But and I like what you said, that it's what the course is being so tough about, is to get you to that joyous bliss. That it's the result of it. And it was my teacher because that was his favorite book. And he threw it out many times. I think he read it as long as you, 30, 40 years. And so that came through me, but then I had to do it in my own fun style and try to tame the wordplay, but walk the line, not do
Right.
too much, but keep it joyous and happy.
I have no idea, and I'd be interested to hear from your teacher as well. Why I kept coming back, why I didn't throw it
Up
away,
to the
toss it
course,
aside,
yeah,
and not and not leave it aside.
right,
Because there's so many more paths that aren't quite as strict.
yeah,
Um, and I don't know of any other path that gives you that, with the exception of maybe Zen,
yes, yeah,
maybe some Tibetan Buddhism, that they are do this, do this, do this. Especially Zen, when it's a very rigorous
yes,
mind training. Um, and that's the nature of the course. Is It's mind training, and it is rigorous. There's leeway. The course says that um, you can't choose the curriculum, but you can elect when to take it. So throw the book away.
yeah,
It'll come back to you, maybe in another form, or maybe in the exact form. I remember around 2002, I was going to a local self-realization fellowship with a friend. I'd been sober for about 3 years at that point. I felt very ripe for something. And I was thinking that I'd been practicing with the self-realization fellowship, the lessons that they used to send by mail back then, uh, for a number of years. And I'd go there with my friend. We'd also go down to Tara Brock's insight meditation classes that she had in Bethesda, Maryland. And he asked me one day, we were having coffee together, my friend. So what's our path? What is it? Do you think that we're going to, ultimately get enlightened practicing Paramahansa Yogananda's teachings, self-realization fellowship? Or do you think it's insight meditation? or do you think it's medicine or whatever? And without any hesitation, but I surprised him and myself, I said, for me, it's A Course in Miracles.
Wow.
Um, and this was during a time when I had almost completely abandoned it. Uh, but I knew for whatever reason this was my path.
Beautiful. Can we talk about you quote that line in in my book, but it's the course and that a solid anything is impossible. Maybe we can just talk about that for someone who's watching. Why would you feel that's correct that a solid anything is impossible?
Well, of course, we could go completely scientifically.
Yeah.
I always go to the Zen Sutra or the Heart Sutra, Buddhism, that um, emptiness is form, form is emptiness. But sometimes we gloss over that the key word, the operative word, is. It's not saying that emptiness becomes form,
Right.
and it's not saying that form reverts back to emptiness. It's saying right now, and I always use this desk as an example because I can pound on it, and also
Yeah.
that I could take it apart, and it would be rearrange it around, and it would be pieces of something, and I might not be clever enough to know what it would be if I assembled it. And then if I took a powerful atomic microscope and I examined the pieces, I would see that it has, it has cells, it has molecules, it has atoms, it has subatomic particles, maybe strings vibrating at a certain rate, maybe. So it's actually nothing right now. And even, the disassembled parts are nothing as well. And yet I can still stub my toe on it, which I do, fairly often. So it's very real. So yeah, a solid anything is impossible because nothing is really solid. But we live in a world of seeming solid
Yeah.
stuff. But we don't have to believe it. And under the right circumstances, we can experience it. We can uh, enter a state of deep meditation where we literally have that experience of no thingness.
Yes.
And yet, when the meditation's over, uh, the solidness seems to be here. But
For
you
now.
know, yeah. But
Yeah.
we never truly believe it again. I think
I like that.
any plant medicine experience, we never truly believe that the world is solid ever again.
Yes.
And it does change everything. With that little bit of knowingness, it changes everything.
I love that. And that would be what you were saying earlier of stickiness, like it sticks more, a little more each time.
Right.
Because I think Richard Rohr said like the mind could be like Teflon, like in nothing, and it's so easy to forget, and it just like a frying pan. And then the things that we hate stick like what is that stuff that you Velcro?
Right.
We seem to never be able to get rid of, like that's like the ego, and then the other stuff just flies away. So it takes practice in order to make it stick in the pan.
Right. And I don't know at this point in my life, I don't know if it's necessary to always remember. I think it's enough to know that you're forgetting.
That's good. Yeah. It's
Now,
intuitive. Maybe that's intuition, and to a degree,
right.
it's like you forget when you write on a guitar, you don't think of all the scales. You already practice so much that now you can just make music and see where it takes you.
And there are some great people out there who have seemed to remember.
Yeah.
Historically, you have, and they remember all the time. You have Jesus, you have Buddha, you have Ramana Maharshi, Nisargadatta Maharaj, uh, those who we don't even know. And then in these times, we have Robert Saltzman and others who are always, you know, they remember almost continuously. But I think we can set ourselves up by attempting to always remember. For me, it's enough that I have these wonderful moments of pure remembering, and it always has to do, almost always, with another through an act of
Yes.
forgiveness, an act of kindness. That I all of a sudden look at you and I see you, truly so. I see the light. I see the Christ within you. Uh, and I just, what's the great line, Thomas Merton, that he supposes when we awaken, our biggest problem would be falling to our knees in worship to
Love
each
that.
other. And it really is uh, falling in love, getting that appearance of another, and then the other all of a sudden vanishes, and there's just that pure love.
Yeah.
And then the other comes back. And um, it used to be, I would catch myself being wistful, feeling sad. I had this wonderful experience, and now it's over. Uh, and then I had the realization that it wasn't an experience, it was reality. What I'm having now outside of it, believing that you are another, that's the experience.
Right.
Uh, so instead of being wistful,
If we're-
now I'm excited and I'm joyous because I will see that reality again and again and again. It doesn't have to stick. It's already here. It
yes.
just, everything feels okay.
So you're saying okay, you're in this Christ consciousness where you're seeing the one self or the one mind in everyone, and then you go to sleep and make breakfast, and you go out to the deli or something, and someone cuts you off, or something happens, and all of a sudden you're seeing a little separation, and you're saying that not only is that okay, that's the whole, that's the joy is to discover, oh, holy fuck, I forgot for a second, and now I
Right.
have an opportunity to forgive, and all of a sudden, while you're yelling or something's coming up, if you catch it, you'll just laugh and have that cosmic giggle. But you're saying maybe that you don't. I don't know if you're saying this, but you don't want to hold that. It just is what it is. And whether
Yes.
you're up here or down here, all of it's okay. Just it's like learning how to walk again. You've and you enter the play. And if you actually believe the play, you'll get a cold glass of water in the face from another actor that will,
Eventually.
yeah,
When you
you'll get
told
the
that,
right response.
when you told that story about the intersection, I started wondering, did you see me the other day at the intersection, waving my hand, flipping
Watching
someone
you.
off, believing I was in the dream again? You know, I actually think it's okay, perfectly okay to be a seeker. And that seems to be a little um, something we're not supposed to say anymore. Don't seek, don't seek, don't seek. Um, but the
Happy
misery of being,
Secret's a little better.
yeah,
Like you said
um,
earlier, happy dream is better than a nightmare.
it is. I think the suffering doesn't come from seeking. The suffering comes from seeking and then wishing to hold on to what you found,
Yes, yes.
even when it slips away. And the thing is, uh, we're seeking. We're not seeking. We're seekers, but we're not seeking anything permanent. We're not even seeking the ineffable. We're just seeking for the joy of seeking. We're going through life, um, collecting these moments of transcendence, and they begin to stretch together and stretch together and stretch together. I see no point if you're seeking to make yourself miserable and then
Right.
try to deny it and say, well, I'm no longer going to be a seeker. I actually enjoy seeking. I enjoy practicing. Uh, and I enjoy every aspect of life, including those little miserable experiences of someone cutting me off in traffic, or the presidential candidate I did not want to be elected gets elected, um, or any of those things, because that's just how it happened. And I don't want to skip over it because it's here.
Yeah. It is what it is.
It is. We can't deny it.
Yeah, and denying it or not accepting it is suffering or sin or separation.
Right. And it's the same, in the early days of modern Neo Advaita, there was always stories of people going to hospitals to visit family members or friends who were suffering or even dying and say, "You're not a body. You're not even here. So, shake it off." Uh, and
There
instead,
is somebody that needs to hear that, but it's very few. Very,
right,
very few.
right. Um, when the more compassionate approach is to take someone's hand and
Yes.
say, "I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if you're just a body. I don't know if you're going to heaven. I don't know anything other than I'm here with you and I'm
Yeah.
holding your hand. And this is as real as we ever need anything to be real. I love you." The great Ho'opono prayer. Uh, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. Um,
Beautiful.
and they say that Ho'oponopono is a Hawaiian art of reconciliation and forgiveness. And what they're saying is that uh, when we say I'm sorry, it's not I'm sorry for something. It's that I'm sorry that I didn't realize that we live in this participatory universe, everything appearing in one consciousness, and that whatever is occurring is also occurring within me. And I didn't realize that we are in this together. But now that I realize that your suffering is my suffering and my suffering is your suffering, please forgive me and thank
Beautiful.
you. And then we seal the deal with I love you.
That's beautiful. Yeah, just being there. I remember when my mother got cancer, everybody, you know how it's just the same thing, thoughts and prayers and we're with you and the same, so sorry, so sorry, so sorry. And Paul Harris, my teacher, wrote, all is well. And I printed all the answers and I showed my brother and I said, this is the only one I see. All is well. He's telling me all is well while mommy has cancer in the hospital. And that I needed, that worked for me. But if you say it to someone else, it might not.
Right.
Yeah,
You've got
compassion.
a prayer from is it Julian of Norwich? All is well,
Yes,
in all matters, all is well.
yes. I love her.
Yeah.
So I know you got to go soon. How's your time?
Um, you know what? I when I have when I set up my live stream, I told people, I actually told my partner uh, that I'm talking to James. So I'm gonna put in there. Uh, I'm gonna be live at 1, and then in parentheses I put or maybe 1:30.
Okay.
Because well, no, because I knew so then we can stretch it out because I knew I was gonna have such a good time talking
Oh,
with
okay,
you
good.
that I wanted to give myself leeway to keep enjoying it for as long as possible.
So you're stretching time right now.
I'm stretching time right now, and I'm calling in. I'm overdue a mystical favor, so I'm calling it in, so I
Cool.
can extend my conversation.
Yes, that's great. Thank you. I can give you that thing I wanted to read, and maybe we can talk about that. It fits, I think. Uh, Brother Lawrence, do you know Brother Lawrence?
I do.
He said, the time of business does not differ with me from the time of meditation or prayer. And in the noise and clatter of my kitchen, I possess God in as great tranquility as if I were on my knees. I love that. So business does not differ from meditation. And I think that's what your message is today too.
That's what that's what we've been talking about for the
Yeah.
past
Yeah.
hour easily,
Yes.
and it shouldn't. That's the great thing. And sometimes I think when I see uh, that awakening that happens in non-duality, it removes them from the kitchen. That uh, sometimes it seems like they're floating above and they're no longer participating, but we're here to participate. Uh, the Great Awakening isn't an awakening from anyone or anything. It's awakening to everyone and everything. That I can't awaken without James. It's an impossibility. Uh, you're my awakening experience. You're my awakening opportunity. As is the internet troll, as is again, whatever presidential candidate that you didn't want might be there, as well as the person that cuts you off in traffic. That's your awakening
I love that.
opportunity, or your awakening moment, your chance for. Um, Sometimes we use the word transcendence, and it seems like we're implying transcending from the experience, but it's the experience that uh, is offering us that moment
Yes.
of falling in love with the experience itself.
Jack Kerouac said, everyone's a bodhisattva. And then Thich Nhat Hanh said, but not all the time.
That's
I like the
beautiful.
first one.
I do like the first one too, but what was it that was it Suzuki Roshi who said when he was this was in the early days of Zen in America. He was lecturing some psychotherapist students who were sort of giggling. What does this Zen master have to say to us? We're on the cutting edge of psychological thought here, and he looked around and he said, each and every one of you is absolutely perfect the way you are, which just caused them to nudge themselves and giggle. That's what a Zen master is supposed to say.
Yes.
And then he continued looking at him and said, and he could use a little bit of work too.
Huh.
And that floored them because they didn't expect that psychological insight that we truly are, angels in disguise. We truly are,
Yes.
Awakened. We're light, we're energy, we're absolute love, and we're a mess.
Yeah.
And
Perfect mess.
it's not accept the paradox.
I like that. Yes.
And I think when we accept it, we no longer even see it as a paradox. It's just, it's back to the Heart Sutra, except that we are enlightened energy beings. And at the very same time, we're in the form of an aging body with a trick knee and a back that doesn't always want to cooperate. And both are blessed.
Yes. I like that. Do you think, let's get speculative since you just stretch time. Do you think that we chose it, or it's just how the one mind shakes out through the different point of views? Did you choose to go through 10 years of working out with the alcoholism and putting all that on your back, or did you say, yeah, I'm going to go in, give me alcohol, give me everything, I'll still add a little yoga, and I'll have just enough to snap me out of it, and one cop will take me right out?
I think about that often. Of Course in Miracles says the script is written.
Yes.
And many great non-dual teachers point out the fact that everything is predetermined. I like to give a little bit of wiggle room. The script is written, but we're in editing mode.
I like
and
that.
that
That's good.
Who knows what the editing instrument's going to be? Maybe it's going to be grace, like it was with me and the police officer.
Yes.
But maybe if it wasn't the police officer, maybe it would have been something tragic.
Yes.
So I think when we get those little niggles pointing us in that direction, start looking for the synchronicity, start looking for those signs and the wonders to save yourself from the more tragic.
That's a great thing to say. That's a good breadcrumb or technique to look for. Even Douglas Hofstadter, who's not, open to this as far as we're going. When his wife had a brain tumor and died within a week, but he was in Italy on sabbatical. When he would leave her at the hospital, as Schopenhauer, when he would leave her at the hospital and drive back maybe to the hotel or the house, he would look for signs, even at that moment, because you're getting, even the skeptic is looking for something to make sense. But he said he didn't really notice anything, and it could be the skepticism, maybe, or who
Right.
knows?
It's a big thing. Who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe since we're speculating, maybe the lack of a sign is a sign.
Yes.
Uh,
Yes.
that uh, maybe he didn't need a sign and he just needed
Yes.
presence to be there. Um, uh, I think it's important to really embrace that. I don't know, lesson 25 uh, of A Course in Miracles. Um, I had a Dove Fishman, who he's the one who's been practicing the course since 1978. And at this point, he's largely left it behind, except for he uses the mantra from lesson 125, or I'm sorry, 25. I don't know what anything's for. And when we truly, truly get that, uh, we're handing everything over
Yes.
to grace, to inspiration, to whatever term that we like to use. Um, and we're saying, I don't know if the script is written. Sometimes it seems to be. I don't know why someone is suffering in this way. Um, but all I have to do is keep returning back to kindness. Am I being kind to you? Am I forgiving? And then we navigate through life for all of its complexities, its ups and downs, its tragedies, and its comedies.
Yes. My teacher would always say if I asked questions, too many, but too many early questions, he would say in so many words, that's none of your business, or you don't need to know that, or something, which I'm sure he was echoing that
Right.
lesson. And it's fun now to speculate, but just a little bit at night or something
Yeah.
for an hour. It's fun to just think of the it's so big and so beautiful, and you start to see, like you had said earlier about not taking a position where you're, I don't know, that it's fun to see that in a sense you don't know, and also everything is permitted in a way, like everything is right, every theory is right, maybe not ultimately right, but they all fit this beautiful play. They all fit.
Yeah. And sometimes, what is right for right now. It's a lot of rights in
Yes.
a row.
Yeah.
And it's exactly what we need because it's what we can accept. It's what we can hold on to. And, I think about that when
That's good.
um, in the 1980s, reading Wayne Dyer and, you know, books that were uh, more self-help orientated, but they
Yes.
did offer those uh,
Little
little
gems.
glimpses.
Yeah.
And it was exactly what I needed right then. And I think speculation is, I think it's a form of self-inquiry. When we allow ourselves to speculate, is the script written? Is whatever? It's given our imagination free rein to uh, entertain possibilities,
I love
potentiality.
that.
Um, and I think it's where all great works of art come from, that you
Yes.
got to allow yourself to speculate. Um, and to keep speculating without landing on a solid anything, as
That's good.
paraphrasing my great teacher and friend James Plath. Um, so speculate away, uh, and as soon as you land on something, investigate it, have fun with it, write about it, paint it, draw it, um, photograph it, and then allow yourself to keep speculating.
Yes. Don't let it get solid. Don't let it get hard. And would you say walk a line between, I love that word earlier, enchantment or astonishment, and be skeptical too. You don't want to maybe be too open, or is there such a thing?
Very good question. Um, I I think that skepticism keeps us from conceptualizing something, and we have talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
Um, that imagine if uh, when Jesus's teaching started to become Christianity. If some great skeptic came along and said, "Nah, we don't want to do that,"
Oh, that's
we're,
good. I like that.
yeah, we're gonna mess it up completely, guys.
Yes.
We needed a skeptic. Um, Imagine if you had a non-dual awakening, but there was that little skepticism. Is this all?
Yes. Yes.
You know, uh, because I think that might return you back to that embodiment. Um, and you can take that. I think of, you familiar with Scott Killaby?
I know of him, but I don't know him.
He's hopefully sometimes next week he's gonna come by.
I've read
And
stuff that looked great, online.
but he had his own uh, very deep non-dual awakening, and he very easily could have hit the lecture circuit and taught non-duality. Instead, he went back in the trenches of you know helping those who are still suffering from uh, alcoholism or drug addiction
Wow.
or anxiety. Um, and that's, to me, that's embodiment. That
Yes.
you're doing that on that mountaintop as you were talking about, and deciding to go back down and give me your hand, give me a hand, give me a hand.
Yes.
We're going up together.
Like you said earlier, be useful, be effective.
Right here, we're only here to be truly helpful, because ultimately, uh, if I'm not awakened, I don't care what stage of awakening that you might believe, you're not there yet because you didn't take me with you.
Right,
and,
right, right.
um, and because we're all either going to awaken now or eventually. Um, but you're not there before me because there is no you to be there before me.
Yeah. The bodhisattva vow, right? Everyone. I didn't know that the course says everyone has to, it's not just correct the perception. All right, here's a question. Um, this is the non-dual debate kind of stuff. Maharshi would say, you say, how do you help others? And Maharshi says, well, there are no others,
Right.
right? So we know that it's correct the perception in the whole world, all is well, even though, and yet, we have a lot of wildness going on in the world, people screaming and crying and suffering and dying and all sorts of bad. We know enough about the bad and wars, but when you correct the perception in yourself, you see you see the truth. Are you saying that, okay, we know, trudge back down and enter the fray? Or can you give me a little argument for just being the Yogananda, staying in the cave and not coming to America? Like just staying in the cave, or the Zen master that's fishing right now up to his thighs and he's not going back to the world? Can you give me a little argument pro Zen master counting fish?
Um, maybe. I wanted to be a Course in Miracles student in my own office cave or my basement cave. My original title of my YouTube channel was Just a Yogi Doing Burpees in his
Yes.
basement. I was going to be an exercise channel that occasionally talked about A Course in Miracles or yoga or did some breath work. And uh, so many things started getting me out of the basement and knowing that my awakening uh, was in my encounters, my every single encounter. Now, ultimately, the course said, as long as there is the appearance of the world, then everything hasn't been forgiven. And if everything hasn't been forgiven, then we are not awakened yet. So we can change our perception and we can get a happier world. And there's a lot to be said for a happier world. But as long as there's a world, there's going to be suffering. The world was the world was made by the ego in order to suffer, because suffering proves that we are a body. And if we are a body, we are separate from each other and we're separate from God. Um, Our job is to forgive the illusion that we are separate and a body, and then the world disappears. So it seems that I'm making a case against what you were asking me to do.
Yes, yes.
Um,
I agree with
but
you.
sometimes I think that we land upon a restful spot and we need to catch our breath.
Yes, yes.
And I think the Zen master fishing is a Zen master fishing, and he's exactly where he needs to be. And when he's ready, he's going to throw away the imaginary fishing pole, let the imaginary fish go, and dive back in the muck and say, all right, guys,
Yes.
let's get to work.
Maybe it's that you don't go back to the world blind. You go back so lit that you are, as we know, you are the light of the world, they are the light of the world. So you go back so lit. So you do return, but you're not really returning to the world anymore. Now it's heaven in a way, and you walk back in that way, and that is better than returning and being an amnesiac
But
and yelling on the street corner.
I like that. Um, and, the Course very clearly says that, we are here. Two things can happen. We can be projecting from the ego, which just adds to the perception of the world itself, misery, creating the illusion of separation, the illusion of suffering. Or we could be extending love. So when we spend our time fishing, when we spend our time in the cave, gathering that light, we go back in the world to extend the light. We go back in the world to keep offering that forgiveness, to keep offering the kindness, to keep offering the love. Forgive, forgive, forgive.
And there are no others at that point. It's just this one Christ consciousness. But that someone might pull it, you'll feel a little pull or you'll run into a circumstance where maybe you can be that open window and that breath of fresh air for that one that
Sure.
seems stuck, whatever that energetic stuckness is.
And sometimes I wonder if, even then, if we don't get pulled back, Jesus cursed the fig tree.
Yeah.
Jesus asked his father, on the cross, why did you forsake me? We still have these moments, but maybe that's the last hurrah,
Yeah.
Maybe Jesus, that was his last little bit of that last karmic knot that kept him entirely in this world. And in order for the resurrection to happen, he needed that little tug. He needed that doubt. He needed the skeptic, his inner
Yes.
skeptic, to say, wow, this hurts.
Yeah. like maybe I'm wrong for that 1 second but
Right.
I think it's again both. It's what you just said, and I don't know if you heard this, but that the forsaken line is already in the Bible in the Old Testament. He was just quoting it to show that it was all a script already. So if we go back and dig it, I'm sure it's in there, and he's just playing out the role. So it's that, and on the level of suffering, it's oh, maybe I was wrong for a second, and kenosis.
Right.
Maybe.
And that's what the Course would point to, that uh, that there was no moment of doubt, because the moment of doubt would have confirmed the illusion, and there would have been no resurrection whatsoever. I love the metaphor of the cross, especially as
Me
presented
too.
through A Course in Miracles, because they said the only lesson of the cross is that we will all survive our own crucifixion. That we all have that moment where we are putting ourselves on the cross or someone else. We're always
Yeah.
crucifying someone, and we can continue to choose that crucifixion, or we could choose the resurrection in any single moment. We can make that choice.
Yes. Kierkegaard said he loves the image of Christ with the arms out, like the wide open. So you have total freedom, like like this. It's, you can choose this, or you can, and in a way, we put ourselves on the cross or on the bed of nails, like Henry Suso, the Christian mystic, or he would wear a jacket with spikes in it into his body until in meditation he realized you don't have to do that anymore, Henry. So
The
it's like
same lesson,
masochistic.
right? It's the same lesson of the Buddha as a
Yeah.
aesthetic for so many years subsiding on you know legend. What was it? A grain of rice uh,
Yes.
and water, uh, and then realizing that denying the body uh, isn't going to uh, lead to awakening from suffering. That uh, for him it was the middle way, and the course says the same thing. Don't deny the body, deny the reality of the body. That ultimately it's an illusion. But I always go back to that great quote from the wonderful mystic Yogi Bear: when when you get to a fork in the road, take it.
Take it. Take it.
When it's the same answer to people say, so is there such a thing as free will? Um, Ultimately, I would say no. But if you're confronted with the choice, make the best one. Uh, we don't necessarily have to, we could see that the body is an illusion, but wake up, floss your teeth, brush, take
Yes.
care of
Yeah.
the body. It doesn't, we're not denying that it's an illusion, but we're saying that we are experiencing an illusion. Let's make it the best one. Let's make it as healthy as possible. Let's not add suffering into the mix if we can avoid it.
Yes. And I would say the more you stay in your heart, in this non-dual heart, is the more you stay there, the more it sort of gets taken care of on its own. I don't know how to word that, but everything will feel better. And as you dip out of that, you'll notice pains in the body and it'll feel a little heavier than lighter. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah. I think this is why it was said that St. Francis began to refer to himself in the third person. Uh, that, Francesco is tired, Francesco is
Right.
hungry, because he realized the body needed care. He
Yeah.
also realized that, one of the um, repeated often in the course, I am not a body, I am free, for I am still as God created me, uh, which is true, but we are experiencing the body, and we're experiencing the confines of the body, and we are experiencing the aches and the pains and the suffering of being alive. Um, our job is to just keep forgiving the illusion of the body and all that comes with it, which ultimately is the ego, uh, and then see what happens. I don't know
Yes.
what happens ultimately, but let's see. I'm often asked, uh, so what happens at the very end of your life? Everything you believed in about the course, someone gives you, they come with graph papers and a pie chart and a PowerPoint presentation, and they prove to you scientifically everything you believed in was absolutely wrong. And my answer is, I don't care,
Yeah.
because I would have lived a life of kindness and compassion and
Yes.
empathy and forgiveness. I would have been more joyful uh, than being drunk for a short amount of time, causing misery wherever I went. Uh, I had a life of kindness. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. It's the best bang for your buck that this place has to offer. Even
Yeah,
even even philosophical skeptics will concede that in a way, like that it's airtight, this non-dual. If you pitch it to them, I pitched it to so many, and they're like, they want to fight you, and they're like, that's pretty good.
yeah.
But
You
you're
know,
helping people. Like you said, you're kind. You're talking about a carbon footprint or a green thumb. You're doing all of that in the best way. So if it turned out to be wrong, you lived a good life.
yeah. The course says, um, would you rather? Ultimately, you have to ask yourself, would you rather be happy or would you rather be right?
Yes, yes. That's a big one.
It is. And I would even replace the word happy with, would you rather be kind or would
Yeah,
you
yeah.
rather be right? Because ultimately for me, uh, kindness is happiness. Um, I'm happier when I'm kind. And, again, going all the way back to the beginning of our conversation, I would, I wouldn't trade that kindness and happiness for any sort of um, awakening that didn't include
Right.
kindness and didn't include compassion for everything and everybody.
I like that. What do you think of when our friend David Hopmeister says, uh, instead of seeing it as God gave God's only son to the world like a sacrificial lamb, it's God, and is Hopmeister is talking about us. It's God gave the world to, just put that word to the son. That's a beautiful way to look at it rather than give, sacrificing. You could look at it either way, and that's the cross. But
Right. And it's funny how those little one words can make all the difference in the world. And, the words that we don't even emphasize in a conversation, like going back to um, the Holy Spirit being, I literally read it for years. The Holy Spirit was the voice of God. Um, and that it's a great understanding. But when someone corrected me and said, the Holy Spirit is a voice for God,
uh,
um, that that clicked.
yeah,
So now when it's easier to turn over to that voice, and because I'm literally asking uh, to think the way God thinks. I'm literally asking to think the way love thinks.
love that.
That, and it's within me. The voice for God is within me because that changes. The voice of God can make declarations and commandments, um, and order people to do all kinds of crazy stuff. But the voice for God can only speak of love, can only
Yeah,
extend, can only forgive, can only, well, the Course says God never forgives because God doesn't view any, God has nothing to do with this world because it would make it real.
right.
So to forgive means that error was real. God doesn't see error. That voice of God is saying, with that being the case, that's our job. The voice for God says, don't see error in your brother, see perfection. Um, and that's what we do. That's the nature of forgiveness. At the same time, on the level of the body, we might want to set boundaries. We might want to, you know, a lot of people think, so how do you forgive the horrendous? How do you forgive the Hitlers? Um, but that is the traditional form forgiveness of the body, in which case we can't. I can't forgive that kind of action, that hurtful, that horrible. It's an impossibility. But when I listen to the voice for God and I don't make that real
Yes,
on that level, on the level of the mind, uh, now I have those two, uh, let's say, distinctions that on the level of the body, that person is treated or imprisoned or whatever the case may be. On the level of the mind, I'm recognizing that there was no sin because sin is an impossibility by that voice for God.
like Alan Watts would say, it's like a big play, and you need the villain like a Hitler to have a. You need both. You need the hero and the somebody has to play the part.
Right.
And when you're at a play, I always say what when they come out and take a bow, and the little parts take a bow, and the little girl and the little boy, and then the villain comes out, usually second to last, and the villain comes out, and the theater goes wild over the villain because now you're seeing through the play as the actor playing the role, and then the hero comes out and the roof comes off, and everyone throws flowers, but you need the opposing.
Right. I asked my friend Vicky Poppy, who is another longtime student of the course since I think 1982,
Wow.
uh, and she might be one of the most pure expressions of love I've had the opportunity to talk to. And I asked her that question: How would you explain that Hitler question? Because everyone brings it up.
Yeah.
Everyone brings up the most difficult thing in the world to forgive, and that's an important distinction to make. It's the most difficult thing in the world to forgive. But we're
Yes.
not asked to forgive the world, we're asked to see through the world. And
Yes.
her answer was, I would find the aspect of Hitler that appears within my own consciousness
That's
and
beautiful.
forgive it. I'm not forgiving the Hitler in the body. I'm
Right.
forgiving the Hitler that is appearing in my own consciousness, knowing that it needs to be healed. That uh, my own Hitler within my mind, because everything's occurring within the mind,
Yeah.
uh, is there and needs to be forgiven.
Like Thomas Merton said, don't forgive the people in the world, forgive the, the ideas of war and tyranny, forgive them within ourselves, our
Right.
own,
And
it's
of
always that.
course, um, one of the things the course offers as well is that we're only privileged to our interpretation of events. So it's easy to take Hitler um, and use him as the scapegoat of all the shadow. Everything's thrown on Hitler, and of course, no denying, uh, you know, the that horrible uh, act that he set in motion. But we also have to realize that there was no uh, had it just been Hitler, it would have been one horrible man uh, railing against people that he hated. And one horrible man can only do so much without the cooperation of others who, for whatever reason,
Right.
go along with it. So, our interpretation is I would never have joined the Nazi party. I would never have done this. Um, but there was a lot of good people who got caught up in a bad thing that allowed the whole plan, the whole horrible plan of Hitler to take place.
Yeah.
Um, had we been able to, at any point, examine our own consciousness, examine our own Hitler within, and forgive it, then the Holocaust would have been an impossibility.
That's right.
I love how Marianne Williamson asked, how did God, she's been asked, you know, how or why did God create a world in which Hitler could take place, in which children starve and die of horrible diseases, and we allow homeless people uh, to suffer? What kind of God, the political discord, the violence? And her answer was, and this is straight from the course as well, God did not create a world like that. We did. Uh, we're the ones that are allowing the suffering. We're the ones that are allowing Hitler, which means we also are the ones who's responsible to fix it by
Would you
cleaning our own
say
consciousness.
that was beautifully put? Would you say God didn't create the world? God, but can we slip in God created Leela or not, or absolutely God created none of that?
Um, if I'm going strict,
Strict course.
non-dual Course in Miracles, God created none of it. Not
Right.
the Leela, not the play, not
Is there any
the
part of
Maya.
you that outside of the course that allows you to speculate? Um, I won't tell David that
um,
that God, because it's almost saying the same thing. Once you get to Leela, there is no, all the suffering is okay. Everything is okay because it's all love playing with itself. There's no people in there. There's no separation. So you have this whole thing like a movie, and we created the world part, the separation and the solidity and the judgment and the left and the right and the up and the down. And over here in the non-dual, just a little bit is a dream. When you get right to the top before the course, there's this Leela beautiful play where there is no right or wrong, like Rumi's field.
Right.
but you can still meet there.
Part of me thinks it's a little bit of a cop out. It lets us off the hook. That if this is God's play, who am I to interrupt the play of God? Um, my job is just to play my role as perfectly, whatever that role might be, and that gives the the Hitlers and everyone their role to play. That they were playing that so well, um, but you know, my own innermost feeling is that uh, we are dreaming this world uh, from that egoic perspective that the tiny mad idea, we remember not to
Yes.
laugh, and that all the suffering, everything that's going on, doesn't need to be, and that we can literally awaken. Well, the truth is, we're already awakened.
Yes.
We just don't know it, and everything is playing out. We could call it. It's playing out from karmic repercussion of that tiny mad idea. Um, it just seems to me that now is the time to roll up our sleeves, finding ourselves in the mess and saying, all right,
Yes.
it's time to forgive. It's time to do the serious work of that innermost forgiveness. And, we've climbed, James, you and I, we've climbed off that mountaintop and we're in the mess. Let's do our part, forgiveness joyfully and happily. Uh, and let's join hands and awaken together.
Can't say it better than that, brother. Thank you. Thank you for this whole. I see a part two coming.
Whatever you
All
want.
speculation. All speculation.
You know what? It, we'll do another one here, and we'll do another one over at my place,
Yeah, yeah.
and I'll title it. I'm going to go back to the basement. Just a yogi speculating with James in his basement.
That's great.
Um,
That's
and
great.
I'd love to talk about speculation because,
Yeah.
again, it sort of sets us free.
Yep. And we could do one just on technique. We could just keep going. We're
Sure.
coming off the mountain.
Yep. Whenever you're ready. And whenever you want. You got an open invitation.
And so everybody knows, and I'll put the links. You do this 3 times a day. You go live 3 times a day. So there's no excuse. Like if someone's working or whatever, they could always find you. Plus, they're all posted on your channel if you're working or busy or whatever. But 3 times a day you go live. Is it morning, afternoon, I guess, and night?
Yep. 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. 5 a.m.
5 a.m. with no people, just you.
Right. Just me. And 1 o'clock, and 5:25.
And those include people actually coming in a chat.
People coming in the chat, or if I don't have a guest, maybe like someone in the live stream wants to pop up and say hi, or sometimes they'll come up, they'll sing a song, or they'll tell a joke, or they'll come up and they'll make fun of me. They'll whatever.
That's humbling.
It is humbling.
They
There's only
roast
so many. There's only so many ball jokes a day that you can actually hear. And nowadays, people don't even joke about it. They just say you're bald, and it's like, come on. Back in my day, kids in my day, we would make an effort to be funny. Now you're just being descriptive.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's not a surprise. I don't wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and, he was right. Oh my God, I am bald. Good thing this kid told me that. I never would have, this
And
is why
they could ask questions.
they can ask questions.
That's good.
And
You read
I did
from
the whole thing.
course.
Yep. The whole thing is my practice.
Oh, that's great.
I have the entire internet to practice being kind.
I love
Varying degrees of success. Like I said, by the 6 ball joke, and I'm a little testy. Not really. But
No,
the whole thing really is, it's my practice. This is my place I created uh, to continuously be kind.
I love that. So you you tell about your practice, you practice, you tell stories, relate with each other, you tell a little bit of jokes, and you read from the course or from the books behind you and
Yep.
give advice, and other people share their journey.
Yep. I do my best to stay away from advice, uh, except for maybe, sometimes someone will ask exercise or dietary advice or,
Right, right.
um, but I tend to steer away from advice and more, this is what has worked for me.
It's great.
And perhaps if we tweak it, it could work for you as well. But some things we know work. If someone
Yeah,
comes in with anxiety, we can do some breath work and a little bit of a guided meditation. And that's almost always going to prove to be helpful because we're changing our energetic state. We're going from that um, sympathetic fight or flight and using our breath to go to the parasympathetic, the rest and digest.
yes.
So breath work inevitably always works, as does just changing our thought pattern from the chaotic thoughts maybe to a calming mantra. Um, so there's, some tools that aren't really advice, they just work. Giving someone a hammer to, hammer in a nail isn't really advice. I don't say, I think the hammer is going to be better than a screwdriver. I just go ahead and give them the hammer.
Yeah.
Um, but when someone is, going through a bad relationship or someone has a crisis of faith or whatever, I don't want to give advice more than I want to give my own experience of walking through that dark night of the soul myself, um, which I don't know if it's an end journey or not. Sometimes I think that there's more than one, you know, dark night of the soul. We
Right.
think that we're one spot, and then, for me, it was uh, my divorce. And I thought the divorce was the worst thing that could happen to me until my mother got Alzheimer's and I
Mm.
was her caregiver. And I thought that was the worst thing that could happen to me until uh, my father got congestive heart failure. And I was his end of life caregiver, and it was during the COVID shutdown. And, I made a vow that he would not die separated in a hospital without his family there to hold his hand. So having to go out into the world but keep my dad safe, uh, horrible experience. So all these were little dark nights of the soul. Um, a lot of times I think we get through that dark night and we think, I'm glad that's over.
Yeah.
Never going to happen again. And then it does happen again. And if we had that expectation that I thought I was done, we're going to suffer even more. Just
Yes.
sometimes, life is hard, but we have the tools, we have the medicine, plant wise, meditation wise, mind wise, um, uh, and other practices as well that help us navigate with uh, a great deal of joy and perfect way to end the conversation with a great deal of open-hearted astonishment.
Ah,
Um, I will forever be grateful for you and your book and putting that concept of astonishment. Um, you know, Rumi's great line: "Saw your cleverness and buy uh,
yes.
astonishment or bewilderment." I think he said.
And
Um,
Fred Lamont, who you're
yep.
going to get on your podcast, is all about that.
It's just you presented a beautiful way to navigate through life, and I will always be sharing your book.
Right back at you. All the wisdom you just shared today makes me want more soon. And I want to speculate. And I'm going to fight this Leela, no world thing. It'll be fun to duke it out.
It will be fun. My sleeves are already rolled up. I'm ready. I'm jumping in.
This is my brick. This is
This is
my
gonna
concept.
this is gonna be the non-dual cage match. Uh,
Yes.
James the Animal Plath versus Eric, just a Yogi McCarty. Um, there can only, in the end, there can only be one because,
Yeah.
there can only be one.
There won't be blood.
And there will not, but it'll be fun for sure.
Thank you, Eric. And this should be out in a day or so.
Awesome. I'll be looking forward to, I'll definitely share it out. And
That'd be great.
I have some, I'll send you some suggestions of people that I've had up that you might want to have up as well.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. Talk to you soon.
Take care, my friend.